Hello everyone, I'm Ken from Genuine Scooters, and with me here we have one of our brand new G400s. This is one of our shop bikes. It's got about 500 miles on it. It was due for an oil change, so we figured it would be pretty cool to do a video on how to do an oil change on one of these, since it's a little bit different to change the oil on a G400 than a standard motorcycle. So up ahead you'll see the video on how we're going to go through. We'll take it step by step and show you how to take care of it. So let's begin by draining the engine oil. This engine has oil in two locations since it's a dry sump engine. But the engine does hold some oil itself. So the drain plug is here, and it's a 17 millimeter. It's gonna be a little bit messy. We have our catch pan right here. All right, drain it out. So we're going to clean off all the residue that was left over from the inside of the engine. These bikes are equipped with a magnetic drain plug. It's a nice little feature. We're going to thread this back in. I like to start them always by hand, just to make sure we don't cross thread, since it's a steel drain plug in an aluminum case. You don't want to strip it out. All right. Snug it in there. Okay, good. Now we're going to move this away. We're going to clean up our mess here so we don't get any smoking, any dripping. Alright, now we're all set. We're going to move off and we're going to drain the rear tank. So now that we've cleaned everything up and we have the drain bolt reinstalled and tightened back down, we are going to move to the oil tank, and we're going to drain out the residual oil in the oil tank. Now there's two connectors here for the oil lines. They're smaller ones. You don't want to touch those. You just want to grab the one in the center. The one in the center is a large 17 millimeter. It's much bigger than the other ones. So we're going to put our ratchet on there. I'm going to crack it loose with the ratchet, like so. And then I like to spin it out by hand so we don't drop the drain plug in the oil. We got our pan ready to catch what's left. All right, there we go. So this has a magnetic drain plug installed from the factory, and you can see there's a little bit of residue on there, which is not a problem. This engine's brand new. During break-in, it's common to see a little bit of metal shavings. So we're just gonna clean this guy back up, wipe it all down, make sure it's good. Inspect our aluminum gasket. All right, now we're ready to go. Once the oil tank is dry, we can reinstall this. Okay. So now that the oil is done draining, we're going to reinstall the drain plug. Again, I like to do it by hand. Prevent cross-threading. All right, we're all set. Now that we've drained the oil from the engine and from the secondary tank, we're going to replace the oil filter. The oil filter is hiding behind this cover here. It's two 8mm bolts. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove these two and kind of turn the cover a little bit to break the seal and pop it out. Whatever you do, do not pry on these covers because you will crack them. They crack easily. They're only made out of aluminum and they are not designed to be pried on. Start out by removing both of these guys here. Okay. We're going to give it a little bit of a turn, and there it goes. Pops right out. And as you can see, I put a oil catch on the bottom here to make sure we have catched a little bit of residual oil. Okay. So we want to make sure we check. There is a little spring in here. Well, make sure you don't lose this spring. It stays in there pretty tightly, but sometimes they will stick on the bottom of the oil filter. So we want to make sure that it stays in place. So now that we let the other filter out, we're going to clean out any residue that's in here with the shop towel. So you see, you'll see some metal shavings, especially on the first service. You're going to see a little bit of metal shavings here and there. I wouldn't be alarmed unless it's large pieces. And I wouldn't clean this out with any chemicals because it'll go straight into the engine. So what we're going to use, this is our shop bike, and since we ride them a little on the hard side, we're going to use a K&N oil filter that's available through ScooterWorks. All right, so we're going to clean this cover, wipe off any residual oil, check the oil seal on it, make sure the O-ring's in good shape. All right, take a little bit of oil, rub it on the seal of the filter. Thread it on like so. Okay. Then we're going to put a little bit more oil on the O-ring just to let it slip into the case a little easier. It doesn't have to be much, just a little bit. Okay. So again, we're going to make sure that our spring is in place. Put our cover on, kind of twist it, tap it, and there it goes, it's on. Next, we're going to put our hardware back in. Again, I like to run it all in completely by hand, as far as you can. And we're just going to tighten it up. All right, now we're all set. Now we're going to fill the oil tank, which is back here underneath this cover. Okay, so now that we have everything buttoned up on the oil filter cover, we're going to remove this side cover here. And you'll see right here that we have access to the oil tank. And this is where we're going to fill the engine from. So we're going to start by pouring the oil in slowly. We're going to do about a half a quart at a time, as we have to turn the engine over by hand a few times to get the oil into the lower half of the engine case. Next, we're going to take the crank lever. We're just going to crank the engine over a couple times, and that'll move the pump and let the oil get into the engine case. So this engine holds about 1 3/4 quarts. And we'll take a little bit of oil to saturate the oil filter as well. Crank the engine one more time. Okay, I got about 1.5 quarts in it right now. Check our level of the tank. Okay, it is showing on the stick. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire the bike up and run it for just a few seconds. And we're going to shut it back off and check the oil level, and then we'll adjust the level at that point. All right, so we're still about a half a quart low. So again, we're going to pour it in slowly so we don't overfill. That'll do it. So make sure we snug the dipstick down. Wipe off any residual oil. We're going to fire it up one more time. And now we're going to let it run and make sure that we don't see any leaks. Alright, so we're not leaking from the drain plug. We're not leaking from the drain plug underneath the oil tank. We're not leaking from the oil filter. So what we're going to do now that we've run it for a little bit, we're going to check one more time, make sure our oil level is good. Okay, we're spot on. And that concludes how to change the oil on a G400C. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and please remember to subscribe to our channel. And check with your local genuine dealer for the availability on a G400C. Thank you.